Here she is. She made it home. And if you didn't catch the first video, this is a mid-1960s Montgomery Ward. It's basically like an RCA CTC 15 round tube color television set. And it's been one hell of a ride for this thing. This was listed on the Facebook Marketplace for $20 in Utah. I was actually on a trip to Utah to explore a couple mines that were very cool, loaded with artifacts from about 1900 to 1919. Basically 100, like going back 100 years. And so we picked this up in Utah. When we picked it up, it was in about a foot of snow. We had to carry it out of this carport type thing. And this is the way it's been transported, face down, ass up, just like this, the whole way. And the first night we camped at the mine, and it got down to about -5 degrees, and the TV was sitting outside. I have some video of that I'll show. All right, well, here's taking a look at the TV in the morning out here in Utah, and you see how cold it is. So it got a good solid deep freeze. I'm sure that's real good for the old electrolytics. Then it got about 100 miles of 4-low dirt road and driving dirt road with a foot of snow on it. And then it got back home, almost back home, and about 100 miles out from my home in Los Angeles, the transmission failed in the truck here, and it got the ride, the whole truck and everything got a ride home on the back of a Freightliner flatbed. And let me tell you, that was one rough ride. I mean, that was like shake your fillings out rough. Well, here she goes home. The transmission died in the Explorer, about 100 miles from home. So this set has really been through it getting here. So I don't even know. Maybe the shadow mask on the CRT is bent, but this is exactly how it was transported. I have a layer of 2-inch foam under it, and then a folded over blanket, and just kind of all of my gear packed in around it. But it was really, that tow truck ride at the end was really rough. And I'm gonna pull the transmission out of this Explorer and tear it apart, because it's a pretty interesting failure. It failed in about 10 miles. It went from working perfect to completely slipping and dead and open and blowing all the fluid out of it and smelling like burnt wood. So I might make a video on the inside of the transmission. Anyway, yeah, let's get this out of here. Let me get this out of here, and we'll get it on the CRT tester. And also I want to go through, there were a lot of good comments on the previous video, which I just did with my phone, kind of from the campsite, and I want to go through those because there's some interesting notes about serial numbers and the CRT and that. Alright, I'm just going to address a bunch of random stuff in this video, I think. So here we go. We call this cataract here. This, see how this, there's this discoloration, and the reason for this is, what there is this is a piece of safety glass on front, and then there's like an epoxy type material between the safety glass and the CRT. And what happens is that epoxy type material, I guess it's like a PVA, but I'm just going to call it, it's like a clear epoxy. As it ages and moisture, it does this. The moisture starts to get in, and it causes it to separate, and you get this. Now there's two different types. There's a greenish yellow type that Zeniths have. You have to remove that with a hot wire, and it's dangerous because that's usually on rectangular tubes. This is the RCA style. There's two ways to remove this. You can remove this with heat, like heating this up so it separates, or soak it in water. And when I say soak it in water, this one would probably take 6 months to a year of soaking in water before it would just fall off. So I've seen people recently talking about, you know, 3 or 4 weeks in water. No, a long time. So that's what this is. Is it repairable? Absolutely. I have videos on repairing it. Ward's, Montgomery Ward's Airline was their house brand, color TV. Looks like it's VHF only, so that kind of dates it. And like I say, this thing went through hell to get here. Wasn't like anyone else was gonna pick it up, and it was sitting in a carport, and unfortunately I think that sitting in a carport kind of did a lot of damage to it. I mean, it's totally fixable, but just the thermal cycles and humidity, and I noticed this was, so it needs some TLC. It almost looks like a rebadged RCA set. Some of these were clones, which means that RCA licensed out the circuits and a company like Wells Gardner would just copy it. But this actually kind of looks like it's a real RCA. But we will get into it right now. This really looks like actual RCA manufactured, not just a copy. It's all about marketing. And I'm sure somebody will correct me and say, well, you know, the rare earth CRT has more something, or I don't care what kind of phosphor it has in it. I don't care if it came from Mars. If the cathodes are dead and there's no emissions, it's totally irrelevant, which appears to be the case with this set. Really? Usually, I would never purchase a set like this without checking the tube first, and that's what I recommend to people when they're in the market for one of these. Get a CRT tester, check the tube before you take the set home. But in this case, the set was so cheap that even if I just end up yanking the chassis and the speakers for parts, it's still worth it. So I'm going to pause the camera, and what we'll do is we'll set a timer here on the telephono. Let's see, where is the timer clock? Stopwatch, start. So we'll start a timer here on El Telefono, and we'll let it bake for 10 minutes. It's coming up a little bit, but it's got a long way to go. Okay, I'm about 12 minutes in, and I'm actually cooking it up about 8 volts. I don't really want to go up much higher than that, just because I might destroy something that's already bad. Alright, I think that's long enough. It's either going to do it or it's not going to do it. You know, it's 6.3 volts. Let it cool off for a while. Don't want to get fake readings here and get ourselves excited. So we have cutoff now, which is very nice. And I don't know, I'm not gonna get real excited. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it sit. In fact, what I'm gonna sound like a retard. I'm gonna just shut it off and let it sit for a while, and then we'll come back to it. Start it back up in 20 minutes because I don't want to get my hopes up that high. Okay, here we go. This is after it's been sitting for 10 minutes. And that does actually appear to have made happy a little bit. Marginal. So to set the cutoff, you bring it up to the first division, which I believe would be there. It's acceptable. You know, the other thing you can kind of check on these to see if the CRT might have been the reason why it was retired is the level of the screen controls. That one's almost at the top. That one is at the top. That one's almost at the top. And does this have a bias? Where's the bias at? Okay, that's service. Video peaking. And the bias is in the middle. So if the CRT was dead, the bias would have been, or should have been, all the way up, and then all of these should have been maxed out. The way you want to set these up is you have the bias on the lowest setting and the screen on the highest setting. So maybe the CRT is not bad. Maybe, well, it is, it's marginal at best. Yeah, it's marginal. And it's dropping down kind of as it cools off and resets. I mean, it'll produce a picture like that, but it's not going to be good. Just going to do a cold, hard power up on this. No variac, no softness, just throw it in the cold water kind of thing. I have the high voltage gauge hooked up. Now, the right way to do this, or the semi-right way to do this, would be to pull that horizontal output tube out of the circuit and bring this up on a variac while monitoring those capacitors' temperature and watching the current intake of the set. I'm just going to use a watt meter, and I'm just going to do a cold, hard power slam on this thing. This is entertainment. This is an entertainment video. It's a $20 TV. If it explodes, the entertainment value is worth more than I paid for it. So I'm going to use the infrared, and we'll take a look in the back. Let me see. Let me think about how should I do this. Hell with it. Ain't no time to think. Just no wattage draw. Unfortunately, this does not have degaussing, which when they went to the CTC 16, that was a major upgrade. Here we go. Just heard the oscillator start. There comes the high voltage. See, now smart money would have not posted the video and would have just pulled the flyback and put it on eBay and sold the flyback for 150 bucks as a good flyback and used that money to buy a transmission rebuild kit. But this is not smart money here. This is... Boy, I smell something burning. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, do we have smoke? I hope we have smoke. Boy, that stinks. It could just be dust. Get the infrared on it here real quick. See what we got. Must just be dust burning, because I don't see anything here. That middle capacitor is getting slightly warm, but it's just ever so slight. That one is staying cool. You can't even see it. That's the convergence board. And that little hot spot right there, that's a resistor. That right there. That's a resistor on the convergence board. And that coil's getting a little warm. Look, you can see the shunt regulator inside the cage there getting hot. The high voltage is right on, 22 kilovolts. See how our capacitors are doing. Not bad. Not bad. Nothing to be concerned about that I see. Okay, 250 watts and a phenomenal odor. And these are all the way up. And we have high voltage. And we have zero sound. Oh no, we do have sound. Zero sound. The brightness is all the way up. The tint doesn't matter. The color doesn't matter. The contrast is all the way up. We don't have any kind of picture, anything at all. Nothing. I do hear the vertical running. So how can we have high voltage? The wattage seems a little low too. I think these were about 300 watts or something like that running. $335. So are we missing one of the B+ rails or what? It wouldn't be the circuit breaker, because the circuit breaker would cut off the high voltage. That's the normal service switch. And I hear that turning the vertical oscillator off. Ooh. Okay, what's going on with that? Maybe there is a little something there. Is it really that dim? It shouldn't be. If I'm getting a line with the service, it should get a raster. Okay, what's going on with this thing? Alright, so we have no sound, no picture, very, very faint raster. When I say picture, I mean raster. Very, very faint. But we have good, strong, high voltage. We have good vertical deflection. I can hear it. The convergence board has got power. When I put it in service mode, we get a nice bright line. So what's going on with this? What voltage is missing? I think it's schematic time. There you go, 1964. Guess you had the option of those sexy legs or that, what we got there. Let's see. Here's the power supply. Now we have a jackhammer to listen to. So I bet you one of these is missing. God, that's a crappy PDF. Okay, what I'm doing here is feeling these tubes. Ooh, baby, that one's got plate voltage. I don't think that one has plate voltage. I don't think that one has plate voltage. That one's not hot. That one's warm. And this audio output, this is a 6AQ5. I should not be able to hold on to this. This thing, there should be smoke coming out of my fingers. That one's warm. That one's warm. That one's cool. That one's pretty warm. That one's hot as hell. You can see there which ones are getting plate voltage and which ones aren't. It's totally obvious with the infrared. I just put my phone in airplane mode so the planes will stop flying over the house here. So the audio output tube is cool and the video output tube is cool. That's why we don't have any audio and we don't have any video or raster. So I wonder where those get their voltage from, because that would definitely explain what we're seeing here. So that's the one that's getting hot. It looks like it runs on 190 volt source. This looks like it runs on a higher voltage than both of those. 330 volt source, and up here 150 volt source, 150 volt source, and a 400 volt source. I think we should start by checking the voltages on this audio output. It's possible we have a bunch of dead tubes in this, especially after that vibration on the back of that tow truck and the off-roading. But I doubt it. Probably more like a missing voltage. So that would explain our low wattage draw having a missing B+ rail. So let's see, we got pin 5 here, should be 400 volts with the tube out. Pin 6 should be 150. So am I doing this right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have, that's on a 400 volt scale. This meter reads a little low, so that's probably close enough. So 4 is right. And there's pin 5. Pin 6, I'm sorry. We have nothing on pin 6. So that is this right here. Should be directly to our 150 volt, and that would explain why there's some noise from the audio but not nothing. So where's our 150? Comes through this 1200 ohm resistor here. How about this 190 volt source? Let's see if we can track down exactly what's open here in the chain. So what uses this 190 volt source? I think, does something on that board use it? That uses the 150, the audio detector. That uses the 150. This is like ghetto third world repair out in the yard using a phone and an old ass meter, when I could just go to the garage and dig the appropriate damn SAMs. Okay, third video IF, 190 volt source right there, 190 volt source to the 6EJ7 pin 7, and I believe that's this sucker here that's hot as hell. Wow, that's, man, that's hot. Pin 7, and that is the right, oh no, that's the wrong one. Duh. This is a 6EJ7 right here, and it's not hot. Well, look at, there's a zenith tube. So 190 volt source comes up through that resistor, through that coil to pin 7. Let's see here. It's a 9-pin tube, so we'll go 9, 8, 7, and we have 0 volts there. So, this is how to diagnose, folks. We no longer have a leader that uses the word folks for everything, so maybe I should start doing that. So it looks like I'm suspicious of this right here, because we don't have the 150 here, we don't have the 190 here, but we do have, well, we got a 1200 ohm 7 watt or 1 watt, I don't know, low quality PDF SAM's photo fax. The next thing we could check is this 265 and see, I wonder what runs on that 265. Alright, so this uses a 265 right here. This is a Z demodulator, 6GY6. 6GY6. Oh, that's real easy to get to. Z demodulator. So that's this bulb right here. And it's not hot either. It's cool. So the 265 goes to the plate, which is pin number 5. Starting to get down in here where you can get electrocuted. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. no voltage there. All right. So I mean, this is why some of them are cool and some of them are hot, because they're not getting any plate voltage. Let's see. Continuing to work our way back. 265, there was nothing there. So that would put us at this resistor, which is a 1418 watt. Is that what that says? 1400 ohm, 18 watt. So the next we have a 330 volt source and a 145 volt source. Okay, I just saw that 145 volt source, and I believe it was on this tube. So let's see, 6AW8. Where was that thing? 6AW8, 145 volts to pin 8. And we have now reached a point where I cannot get my head in there. Okay, I'm on pin 8, and it's way high, but it's there. And the reason why it's way high is because the power supply is basically a divider network, and since we don't have this loaded down here, well, that shouldn't really, that would mean the B plus is way high too, which would make sense. That's why the wattage draw is low, so the B plus is probably way high. So I am suspecting this resistor right here, this 1400, looks like 1400 at 18 watts, because everything below it is missing. And that's why all of these voltages here supply the deflection circuits, and all of this down here supplies like the audio and the color demodulation and the IF and probably the tuner. So do I have to take this stupid chassis out to get to this thing? Crap. Too bad it's not a Zenith Thermothaver chassis. But at least it has the original bolts in it. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, the Zenith, they got a plate here and you can get it off, and you don't have to deal with what I'm gonna have to deal with to get to the offending component. It's even got the little original stapled paper wire holder thing. God, do I really have to terrorize this thing and do this? I wonder where that resistor is. Can't see nothing through there. You say 18 watt? That's a pretty big resistor. I wonder if that's one of those can dome jobs bolted up against the chassis. You know, there absolutely isn't any rule that says that I can't just take, for scientific testing purposes or whatever you want to call it, and just bridge this stupid thing right across the top. Like I said, entertainment channel, entertainment comedy videos. There's no rule here that says, yeah, so in order to reciprocate my thoughts, let me do this. Let me see if I can find the stupid power supply. Usually when I do a resurrection or something, I prepare. I was not prepared. So we have basically, we have up here, we have our 400 volt B plus source, right? And that comes down through this 1400 ohm resistor to the 265 volt source that I suspect is open. because we obviously have voltage here, but we don't have voltage here. So what I was doing is I was looking at the demodulator board. Isn't this fun? Right, so here's our demodulator board. So we have the 400 volt source here on the big amp tubes, and then right behind it we have the 265 volt source on this going to the plate of the X and Z demodulator. So why can't I just take and clip lead on to this point here and this point here and put a 1400 ohm resistor across it? There's no rule that says I can't, right? Maybe just somebody's aesthetic whatever that you didn't do it like the factory did it, but instead of tearing this thing all apart just to prove a point, I can do this because this is still a free country for a minute longer. Okay, this should fill the need here, so we'll just dial this thing in to 1400 ohms. Let's see. 1.2K, 1.3K. There you go. 1400 ohms. Probably about a 100 watt resistor. Now, so one side of, oh, there's our high voltage. One side of this should be, so 160 volts. What's the other side? I don't even like getting near the, I don't like getting near the high voltage tube with this meter because it say goodbye so quick. Alright, so there it is, 406 volts, 405 volts. So the B plus really isn't that high. I thought it would have been higher without the load. So what I have right now is I have one side of that big resistor hooked to there, the 400, and I have the other side hooked to there. At least I think I do. If I have it hooked over here, this resistor is going to start to smoke. So back to my power supply on my crappy Sam's. I should have 400 volts on one side of it and then 265 on the other. So unloaded, I have the 400 here. As soon as I hook this up, it should drop to 265. We'll keep an eye on our wattage. So here we go. See if she'll get channel 6. There ain't no numbers on this.
Vamos a llamar al número de la bendición.
She works. Channel 6 low power is still on the air here. KRPE low power San Diego. KZ something low power Big Bear Lake. Which channel 6 is also the very bottom of the FM broadcast band.
Radio Guadalupe, nos hemos mantenido fuertes en nuestra fe y yo los invito a que ustedes también sigan cooperando para que Radio Guadalupe llegue a más personas y podamos alcanzar la salvación de las almas como Dios quiere que seguimos.
She works good.
Días, estoy lista para entrar. Vamos a darlo todo por Cristo.
Muy bien, Lupita, enseguida te enlazo. Entramos al aire en 3, 2, 1, al aire.
Estamos hablándonos desde el corazón. Bienvenidos.
Decenas de personas nos esforzamos cada día para que esta señal del cielo llegue hasta ti. Ayúdanos para seguir al aire. Haz tu donativo al 1-800-777-457. Radiotón Guadalupanos de Corazón 2019.
La Virgen de Guadalupe siempre intercede por sus hijos. Por eso, no dejes de ser generoso con ella.
Haz tu donativo con tarjeta de crédito o débito desde el lugar donde te encuentres. Llama ya al 1-800-777-4547. Imagina cómo fue ese momento en que Juan Diego escuchó el llamado de la Virgen de Guadalupe. Su corazón latió.
$320 watts now. So see, the watt meter is a good diagnostic device. We knew that something was wrong because wattage was low. And it's good and hot now. So we'll come back to this later tonight. And we'll do a setup and check it all out, get it adjusted on the generator. The color demodulation might work, it might not. Look at how that's worn off there from all the use from this. Here's what it looks like with the voltage missing. And here's what it looks like working with the proper plate voltages on the right tubes. Is this where the UHF option goes? Because I think I'd take this out and make me a chain with it. That'd be blingin'. Okay, so now we got a windstorm going out here. And see, 654. Still not quite dark enough yet. Definitely a soft CRT. I mean, granted, it's still kind of bright out here, but it's a little soft. We have no color demodulation. Let's see, the color's all the way up. Tint is irrelevant. And we'll turn the fine tuning. If you can see that green on the right. Turning the tint seems to move it, but it's like there's no There's no red and blue color demodulation at all. If that's showing up in the camera. The greenish tint over on the side. It's turning the color down and off. Alright, I am going to wiggle the tubes. That's wiggling the 6GH8 oscillator. No, there's no color demod. Which, that's kind of a common thing to fail on these. You know, that's a kind of like the stereo on a AM/FM radio. The stereo demodulation always seems to take a dump first. It's like one of the more sensitive things. All right, this 6GU7 here is not that warm. This one here is smoky fingers, and so these sets have a lot of problems with the capacitors that couple the signal to this. The little orange drops, they leak, and they overbias this tube and burn out the tube or burn out the plate resistor. So we got more diagnosis to do on the color demodulation with this set, because it looks like I say, it looks like it's sort of demodulating there. I mean, there is color. It is demodulating kind of greenish something. So let's see. Oh boy. Of course, the color killer is all the way down. So let's do this. Let's see. It still looks a little green there, so let me adjust. Well, that's interesting. That's turning the green screen down. That's green screen down. That's green screen up. I mean, I'm sorry, red. That's red screen down, red screen up. That's all three down. That's green up, green down, blue up, blue down. That's red. That's blue. Blue is not doing anything. That's green. And that's red. But red doesn't do anything without green up. That's red down, red up, green down, red up, red down. What the? So we got issues here. We got color issues. That doesn't mean we can't hook it up and watch some TV though. Get some Maury Povich or some Springer going on this thing.
Use a new Tacoma for just $259 a month. Get 1,000 bonus cash when you choose 2.9 APR for 60 months. Or get an incredible $1,500 cash back. But hurry, these offers end soon. We make it easy. Toyota, let's go places.
This is the Road to Gold, sponsored by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Oscar nominee Regina King was barely a teenager in 1985 when she got her big break on the sitcom 227.
I agree with that. I mean, look at all the contrast just from that to this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all those years of that sedimentation coming down.
Prove it. Because a good credit score can open up, well, a number of possibilities. Get your free credit score and strategy at creditsesame.com today.
I don't understand. How could I lose a 25-pound ring?
Amazing.
You can't have any content that isn't open source. Like for instance, I've used it before, but the president is open source. Commercials.
Happens. So we're going to show you guys how to make the ultimate ice cream sandwich cake.
Commercials are open source.
That's where to stay.
With extra benefits like dental, vision, hearing, prescription drugs.
Stuff like this is not
plus free transportation
in the copyright
free healthcare items and free fitness
database. But anything like NFL or NBA or any kind of produced content is in the database.
Connecting members to the care they need.
So like
Get more
the evening news is not in the database.
Call now. We can answer questions and help you enroll over the phone. Call 1-877-887-0932.
The sheet reinvented, ridiculously soft.
Notice there's no buzzing or anything in this
sleep experience.
audio demod.
The most important part to performance is a great night's sleep. We thought if technical fabrics can improve athletic performance, why can't we apply that same concept to sheets?
Cheeks stretches to your every curve. It conforms to you, and the softness is unbelievable.
Traditional cotton sheets trap heat and moisture, making you too hot or too cold. But Chic's groundbreaking sleep tech fabrics transfer heat 2 times more, nearly 50% better. This moist wicking technology is the natural sleep, so you stay dry and sleep better.
We get warm at night. You sweat every single night, and Chics will help keep you cool.
Chics are wrinkle-free and have stay-fit corners, which provide an extra secure fit and grip. Best of all, Chics feel ridiculously soft.
If you think about that soft fabric touching your skin for 8 hours a night, it's sleep.
Every time you climb into bed, you'll experience the Chic sensation.
They're so much softer than any other sheet I've ever had.
The reviews have been remarkable. Chics are transforming the quality of sleep.
Chics feel so good, I don't want to get out of bed. I love Chics.
Chics are patented and the only authentic performance sheets. Call or go to trychics.com now to sleep better every night. Order your Chics performance sheet set in your choice of size and color. For a limited time, you'll get 25% off when you use the promo code on your screen, plus 2 additional pillowcases at no cost. That's a total savings of up to $100. Act now to get free shipping. Sleep on Chics for 30 nights, and if you're not satisfied, we'll give you a full refund. There's no risk. Call or go online now and see how Chics deliver the ultimate deep sleep experience.
I tell you, Chrissy, it's going to be a real pleasure taking you out.
Oh, you don't know how happy I am to get out.
Chrissy, look pretty tonight, Jen.
It's better than going in the front door.
Want to give it a go? Okay, I'll give it a go.
Okay.
we go. Make sure these adjusters are right flat against the side of the drum, okay? Very gently there.
That's it. Okay. If you were Juggernaut, Charlie, how would you prevent us from doing what we are about to do?
I'd install a trembler switch. One bit of vibration and up she'd go.
Beaten before we start. The ship's engines will set it off.
Okay, guess this is part 2. We'll have to do a part 3, which will be sorting out the color demod and figuring out why the assigned screen does not manipulate the proper color. I mean, I should be able to create red here. Maybe the purity is just absolutely so jacked up that the purity is all off. I guess I could slide the yoke back. Let me see. Hell is my red? I should have red there. Okay, so yeah, the way you do purity is you pull the yoke all the way back, then you move the magnets around to get the red in the middle. So maybe this is just a purity issue. And I actually kind of forget how to do this, but I think you move these around to get the red in the middle. Here he goes, screwing it all up. Okay, you get the red in the middle. And then you push the yoke forward until you get the whole screen red. And it looks like why does turning the green up turn the red up now? Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Needs lots of help. Oh, look at the convergence now. That's an award winner right there. Jeez. I'm done. More to come later. Let's go back and look at that convergence again. Oh yeah. I'll come back to this in another video in the future and straighten it out. All right, it's not uncommon to have a replacement picture tube in a set. They typically lasted only about 10 years, and of course this is from the 60s. There's one comment, and then another comment says that looks like the original CRT because the serial numbers match. And I will have to admit that that person has a sharp eye, and yes, indeed, they do match. 112604, 112604, 112604. So this thing has matching numbers. Now, is that a good thing? No, I don't think that's a good thing, and we're probably going to find out why. And the reason why I say that is due to the age and how many of these have been replaced, how there's almost no originals. That would suggest to me that this thing is probably, which is an RCA, is probably done. So I would almost rather see a reman or replacement tube in a set like this than the original. This is an interesting comment. Wells Gardner, ? Not sure. Sears was known to have their own house branded offerings from Wells Gardner. Montgomery Ward had their own suppliers as well, among which General Electric was a big one. That set, meaning the one you're looking at, looks like it could very well be GE sourced. Then again, those RCA clones tend to be so closely duplicated in design, it's hard to tell. Even the control placement is near identical to my Sylvania-built RCA CTC 15 clone from 1965. A lot of folks here seem to think it's Wells Gardner. How do I prove that? That's the question. Also, there's a lot of comments on this, which is the RE21FJP22A. Now, I kind of suggested that RE meant remanufactured, which might have been more of a hope than a reality. I guess RE is rare earth. I think that's kind of a marketing gimmick. The red phosphor for all of these color tubes of this era came out of the Mountain Pass mine here in California, and the mine is still open, and I'm trying to do an interview with the geologist to talk about on camera to talk about the mining of the rare earth phosphors that came out of that mine and went into this CRT, because he was actually working at the mine in the 60s when the primary source of wealth for that mine was these rare earth phosphors that they would sell to Zenith and RCA and the tube manufacturers. So I think they're kind of all rare earth. I mean, all these phosphors are rare earth. None of them are like generic and then other ones are rare. They're all rare. So that to me seems like more of just a branding than a reality.